A very special guest joining me on the show today, here to celebrate the release of their first ever greatest hits album, Rattle, Ramble, and Roll Volume 1, and really also to commemorate a quarter of a century as a band that has been almost at this point 25 years of Blackberry Smoke, the one and only Mr. Charlie Starr. Charlie, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
So, you know, with this greatest hits, I kind of wanted to break down all of the 8 studio albums in your discography and see how we kind of got here. Yeah. And you guys really do have a fascinating story, which we went over last time you were on, but I kind of wanted to get into, I guess, the nitty-gritty of all of the albums.
Yeah.
So we'll start with the very beginning, Bad Luck Ain't No Crime. You know, I think it's pretty well known at this point that Jesse James Dupree from Jackyl is really, who really helped Blackberry Smoke get their start. Yep. And so, he invites you guys into the studio, but you get in there, and you only had a handful of songs, and he said, well, you guys need more, you know, if you want to do this. What were those initial songs that you had ready to go at that time before you had to come up with some more to make the record work?
I had Sanctified Woman, Testify, Normal Town, Train Rolling. That was it.
What was were any of those the first ever Blackberry Smoke song? Like, is there a definitive, this is the first song I wrote for this project?
Sanctified Woman is the very first Blackberry Smoke song. So that's why it's first on the album. Yeah.
But that did get re-recorded, which I wanted to get into for the second album, but since we're talking about it, that did get re-recorded for the second record.
It did. When we were in the studio making what became the second album with Dan Huff, he said, hey, I want to talk about a song called Sanctified Woman. And I said, okay, what you want to know about it? And he's like, I think we should record it and put it on this album. And I said, it was on our first album. He goes, I got news for you, buddy. Nobody's heard your first album. So we re-recorded it. And I thought, well, Little Feat, not that I'm comparing us to Little Feat, but they put Willin on 2 records, on their first record and their second record.
Oh, okay.
And although that was 2 drastically different versions of that song, whereas for Sanctified Woman, they're pretty similar.
Yeah, the one on Little Piece of Dixie is just, I would say, a little bit more polished.
Well, and Paul Jackson is not on the first version.
Oh, I did not. But he's on the album, right? But not on the.
He is. He's not on that song. We recorded those songs before he joined the band.
Oh, okay.
Myself and Brent and Richard. So Sanctified Woman, really, the first version on Bad Luck Ain't No Crime is a trio song.
And that was really the song that caught Jesse James Dupree's attention, right, and made him want to work with you guys.
Britt called me one day. I was still working in a body shop, and he said, when you get off work, let's go to Jesse's house. And I had never met Jesse before. I was a fan of Jackyl. I actually saw them when I was 18, first time. And anyway, we went, and he's like, do you have any more songs like this? And I said, yeah, sure. And he said, this song is a hit because it sounds like shortening bread.
What is shortening bread?
Mama's little baby loves shortening.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay.
Yeah, he liked the hook of it.
Right.
Na 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 na. You know.
I went looking for a sanctified woman. She was just the kind of woman I was hoping to find.
Anyway, he just liked what we were doing. We had recorded a version already, a demo version, and he heard it. And so he said that and Testify and Normal Town. And he said, come into my studio. Oh, and Angeline. That was another one. And he said, come to my studio, which was there at his house, and let's record these songs. And so after recording the first 5, he said, you got any more? And I was like, no. And he said, well, now look, you're going to have to write an album a year. Because I'd really just started writing songs in earnest. I was trying to find my feet as a songwriter, but I was playing with a lot of songwriters.
Well, when you were in Buffalo Nickel before Blackberry, did you? Because that was somebody else's project, right? They were like the main guy. Did you do any writing for that, or no? So you just kind of played what you were told to play.
It was his project, So
I see.
I understand. I didn't at the time. I was like, "You don't want to hear my shit," you know? But I get it. I'm like, "Oh yeah, well he was building his career, you know.
Yeah.
We were just his band." So I started writing those initial songs then, and anyway, I got a little overwhelmed when at the thought of, oh, how many songs do I need to write? And he's like, well, you need to come in with 20, you know. And I was like, shit. So to fill out that album, I did go home and wrote a handful of, maybe 3 more songs, and then we picked 2 covers. And so then that filled out the first album.
Yeah, it was the Georgia Satellites cover and the
Born Man.
and yeah, that's right. And that was so those first 2 albums, those were on BamaJam, right? Was that the name of the label?
Well, the first one was just us. We were just selling it out of the car, out of our van, and the trunk of our car, kind of thing, you know. And then when we started to work with, we actually had recorded with Dan Huff and made the second record, and we're on 2 different independent labels before that.
Before BamaJam?
BamaJam, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So BamaJam came along and released the first album and New Honky Tonk Bootlegs, which was an in-between EP,
Right.
and then Little Piece of Dixie.
Now BamaJam, that's the one where the president of the label went to prison, right?
He did. He was involved in some political stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
aside from music.
Right. Did that affect were you guys still on the label at the time
Yeah.
when he went to prison? Yeah. And did that affect things
It did.
with you
We were
guys?
stuck. We couldn't record anything else.
And this was in between Little Piece of Dixie and the Whippoorwill, right?
So all that time, it's just like, Jesus Christ, are you guys, our fans were like, are you ever going to make another album? Because it's been 3 years.
Right.
And we were like, at some point, yes, we were stuck in the business, which is the worst part of the business.
The second album, though, that's where you started really, because the first album is all, aside from the covers, obviously, but that's all songs that you wrote yourself. The second one is where you started to bring in some additional co-writers, right? I think it was Dan Huff that got you into kind of songwriting with other people, right?
He did. He and a publisher that I started working with. And that was my first experience of the Nashville music scene, where there's always songwriters and performers. But it was starting to, in our case, it was one and the same, you know. And so I met these great friends, Jamie Johnson and Randy Houser and Travis Meadows and Leroy Parnell and David Lee Murphy and all these people who, at first, these songs that they wrote were presented, like Good One Coming On and Freedom Song, a few songs that Dan really felt strongly about us recording. And that was weird to me at first, although I did listen to those songs and go, damn, these songs are great. Why hasn't someone else cut them, you know?
But do you have to like kind of find a way to set your ego aside a little bit at that point of like,
I did.
I don't want somebody else's shit on my record.
We actually decided as a band, I mean, we talked about it and we're like, is this something that we want to pursue? And at first it was like, well, no, we have our own songs. We don't need these songs. But then the songs were good. And then what, hand in hand with that came Dan going, I want you to go write with these guys and see what happens. That happens a lot in Nashville. You know?
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at any country artist discography, and it's got every song's a different writer.
Well, and that was new to me because I'd never written. I'd only written a few songs with a few friends here and there, but not like with writers. And so I felt very overwhelmed, and I thought, am I good enough to do this, you know? And do I have? I wanted to go into these sessions with something, you know. And but I made some lifelong friends and collaborators from it, Travis and Randy, and
Well, yeah, Travis, I feel like
pops up everywhere.
well, yeah, I mean, he's almost
me,
like a silent member of the band. He's got
is.
so many writing credits from
is.
Blackberry Smoke.
And it'll happen so spontaneously, and it still does to this day. I'll say, I got an idea, Travis, and we don't even get in the same room anymore. We do it over the phone. And One Horse Town and Pretty Little Lie. Well, going back before that was Like I Am, and I can't even remember anymore. There's so many.
Yeah.
He's just he could be in our band and you would never know it.
But there's no his contributions to Blackberry didn't start until the Whippoorwill, right?
No, we wrote Like I Am.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Piece of Dixie. But then really in between those two records, he had come down to my house and we just started writing. We wrote a bunch of songs, and then neither one of us was sober yet, and so it's a little fuzzy. But I got sober before he did.
Right.
I remember, like, I don't know if he remembers writing One Horse Town and Pretty Little Lie. That was on two separate days, a Monday and a Tuesday or something.
Oh, but they were written that closely to each other. Oh, wow.
And then Leave a Scar and Lucky Seven and.
So he co-wrote most of the Whippoorwill album with you.
Not most, I would say.
About half.
Maybe I'd have to look. But even now, like when he's going to make a record or we're making a record, we always contact each other and say, "Well, you've been a part of this from so far back.
Yeah.
Let's not. It ain't broke. Let's don't try to fix it."
Now with the songs on Little Piece of Dixie, like the Freedom Man and Good One Coming On, that were those were totally written by
Somebody else,
right? So how does that whole thing work though? Like when country radio, for example, you hear a big song on the radio and it's totally written by somebody else. How does that song, when you write a song that's not going to be for you, how do you end up landing on this song is what we're going to record? Is it just kind of presented to you like, oh, I think this would be a good fit for you guys to do? Or how does that whole thing work? The Nashville scene has always been interesting to me like that.
those were, and they came from Dan and a couple of his guys that thought this song would work perfectly in your repertoire,
Yeah.
And again, at first I was like, well, aren't our songs good enough? And then, because that's not the way I set out to do it ever. I thought, well, if I can't write the songs, then I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But I really like those songs, and they fit really well with our songs. So I thought, what do we have to lose? And looking back on it now, I mean, we don't play a show without playing Good One Coming On. It's like...
That's a staple Blackberry Smoke song.
And I looked at it back then like, well, some of my favorite artists have done this as well. Not that makes it... I didn't need justification, but it did help to go like, well, Willie didn't write Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain, and he loves it, and we all love it, so... where's the problem?
Well, and even like a lot of the old like Rolling Stones songs and stuff like that, they're just old blues songs that they covered, but then they become synonymous with those songs,
And none of us thought about that we didn't think, okay, Good One Coming On is going to be a hit. We just
Right.
thought, it's a damn good song and it's fun, and we were a party band then. It was like, this is a party song, so 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah.
Looking back, it seems so far away now. To think, I don't even remember what that felt like to be like, well, let's go learn this song, that Leroy Parnell wrote and David Lee Murphy wrote.
Yeah.
But it's great. I love it. I don't get tired of it. It's a song when we start it every night, it's like everybody hoops and hollers. It's like, well, who doesn't love this song?
Yeah, of course.
It's a good one.
Looking back at those first two albums, I mean, now... over 20 years past the first one and almost 20 years since the second one. How do those hold up for you when looking at your catalog as a whole?
I mean, there are some that I look back, I won't even tell you what. I won't, because I love them all. There are some that I'm like, oh, I wouldn't write that now. Because I'm 50.
Sure.
But there's not one song that we don't play. I mean, at some point, we still play them all.
Wow. Well, and you guys change the set list every single night, right?
Yeah.
And you're the one that decides? You decide the set list every day?
I think nobody else would want to do it. So I sit
Yeah.
down every morning and like with coffee and say, and then as people walk by, they'll be like, what do you want to play tonight? And I'll get a, Woman in the Moon, Lucky 7.
Wow. So when you guys rehearse to go out on the road, I mean, how many songs are you rehearsing?
Well, we don't rehearse.
Oh.
So basically here's what we're going to start with, and every day is a rehearsal, I guess. Sound check is rehearsal.
Oh, wow. So it's a lot of this really is on the fly. Well, not on, well, I mean, on the flight day of.
Yes. And that keeps it really fresh.
What about the covers? Because you guys play covers like every show, but they're always different. I mean, is it just something that you have kind of like a bank of covers that you like to just kind of cycle through? Or is there ever a moment where you're like, you know what, I really want to play this song. I'm going to let everybody know, and we're going to learn it, and we're going to do it tonight.
Yes, and that happens a lot.
Does it?
And we'll have to have, it's a group text and like, hey, y'all want to play this? And I mean, we all kind of like generally the same music.
Yeah.
It's a lot of different stuff, but, I'm not asking us to play Basketball by Curtis Blow.
Right.
It's going to be the Stones or the Beatles or, ZZ Top and Skinner and
A lot of Tom Petty covers.
Tom Petty.
Yeah, we came to that show that you did with Mike Campbell over the summer. That was incredible, and that was, at this point with Tom Petty no longer here. I mean, that was what I felt was the closest thing that you could possibly get to a Tom Petty show now. Especially that, obviously Mike played some on his own, but when you guys did the jam, at the end of the night and did 5 or 6 songs or whatever, that was incredible. Man,
I just was talking to Benji about it yesterday. Like, that's another thing. There are all these special things, that I can kind of open my memory banks and cherry pick them and be like, oh yeah, remember when we did this? And I was like, remember when we played all those Tom Petty songs with Mike Campbell? That was fantastic.
Yeah, well, we must have spoken into existence, because I listened to the interview we did last summer ahead of this, and you had told me that you had never met Mike Campbell, and I'm like, man, I would love to see a Blackberry Smoke and the Dirty Knob show, and you're like, that'd be great.
You did
and
it.
Then here we go a year later. So no, that was seriously like a match made in heaven. That was an incredible show.
It was great. Loved every minute of it.
I want to go back to the Whippoorwill, which as you told me last year too is probably overall the fan favorite, top shelf Blackberry Smoke album. And that one really was made possible in part by Zac Brown. I mean, he helped out a lot, and that was also released on his Southern Ground record label.
Well, and so coming out of the experience with making a little piece of Dixie and then being stuck with it, going through 2 or 3 different independent label situations, BamaJam being the final one, and us being like, oh my God, we got to get out of this somehow. Contractually obligated, and then with the head of the label and his troubles. And we were just like, shit, man. And we had already started to play, and also, mind you, and this is no shade thrown at Dan Huff and Justin Ebank, but I'd already written a handful of those songs, and I felt really strongly about them when we were recording Little Piece of Dixie.
Oh, so when you did that second record, you already had songs that would appear on the Whippoorwill.
Because I had written them with these friends that they introduced me to.
Oh, okay, I see.
So we already had One Horse Town and Pretty Little Lie and Ain't Much Left of Me and Lucky 7 and Leave a Scar. All these songs, I thought, people are going to love these songs. And at that moment, making that other record, they got sort of pushed aside. And I thought, that sucks. I really believe in these songs. I know our fans are going to like these songs. I know they are. My heart and my gut tells me they are. I'm not wrong about this, But nevertheless, it was like, no, we'll save those for later. And I thought, well, later's going to be better.
Yeah, of course.
Because these songs, and I don't mean that to throw any shade on Little Piece of Dixie. I love it. It's a great record. But anyway, fast forward, we started playing those songs live after all this waiting, and people were like, they loved them. And so when we went in to make the record with Zac came along and was like, I'm going to get you out of this deal, and you come with me to my new label and go make the record you want to make, like self-produced. But then we knew Clay Cook really well from the Marshall Tucker Band, and then he joined Zac's band, and he's like, can I come, co-produce the record with you? And so did Matt Mangano from Atlanta. So It was like a big group effort. And it was heavenly. And it happened, it was done in 5 days.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, we were running, but it didn't feel like it. We weren't in a hurry. It was really smooth, and we recorded all those songs. We had been playing those songs live, so we knew them inside and out. 24 songs we recorded, or 22 songs we recorded. And then he said, you need to pick your favorite 12. So we narrowed it down. And the very last one, I really was a staunch believer in Crimson Moon.
Okay, that's a great one.
It wasn't going to make the initial dozen. And I hit Zac up, and I was like, you're crazy if we leave this off the record. It fits perfectly. And he's like, are you superstitious? 13? I said, no. He's like, okay, 13 it is.
Oh, wow. So that's crazy how that all panned out.
And, yeah, and that one, and it was mixed really quickly.
You know, if I recall, so right, I think before the Whippoorwill came out, I think you had went through a divorce somewhere like leading up into that time.
Before that, yeah.
And you know, I'm curious how when you are going through something like that in your personal life, but then at the same time, you know, your band you're kind of finding success and your band's starting to grow. How does that, you know, sort of affect songwriting when you've kind of got these, you know, emotions on both sides of the coin and just kind of affect the overall vibe of things?
I mean, it does. It sneaks in there, whether you want it to or not. I think any experience does.
Sure.
And I guess it did. That's the kind of profound experience that can really inspire you to be angry or sad or hurt or whatever, you know.
Well, I think, you know, on the Whippoorwill, One Horse Town is probably overall the biggest or most popular Blackberry Smoke song. And the way I understand it from what I've heard is there was, you know, that song tells a great story. And I always like in songs like that where, you know, it's very story focused. And at the very end, you know, a lyric in the chorus is kind of changed to sort of mark the end of the story. And the way I understand it is there was a disagreement between you and Travis about the final line of the song.
A friendly disagreement.
Sure.
Like, he may not even remember it, but I was like, okay, I want to switch this around and have it sort of dot the I or cross the T, really, meaning that, okay, the one horse, I'm going to ride him out of this town.
Right.
Because before, you know, the metaphor is I'll ride my pony out of this one horse town. Like, I don't even have what's good enough.
Right.
This is all I got is this pony, you know.
I'd ride my pony right out of this one horse town.
And he's like, I don't think we need to do that. I don't remember exactly like what was said, other than I remember thinking, well, I'm going to do it whether you know it or not. And I think I've told him that since, and he's like, well, you were right. It's just sort of, I mean, there's no rule that everything's got to be the same.
Sure,
I always
sure.
like little word changes, like that song in particular has, sometimes it says, if I didn't think that it would shut the whole place down.
If I didn't think that it would shut the whole place down.
And then at the end it says, shut the whole thing.
Right, right.
Just the little things to make it a little different.
If I didn't think that it would shut the whole thing down.
You know, I think the title track, "The Whippoorwill," is probably my favorite Blackberry Smoke song overall.
Thank you.
And I found, God, I wish I could remember the exact details, but there's a video of you guys doing it live, but it's not live. It's like a live recording type of thing. I can't remember the exact scenario, but it was played a little bit differently than it is on the album. And I was reading the comments, and somebody pointed out that it has a very Pink Floyd vibe that I never noticed before. And then I'm like, oh shit! Now I hear a little bit of Pink Floyd, especially in the intro to that song.
Well, I guess there are a lot of songs that have that minor to seventh chord change.
Oh, is that what that is?
There's a couple of Pink Floyd songs that do that, a couple of Petty songs that do it. I remember when I played Rich Robinson and I have been friends for a long time from the Black Crowes, and we played an acoustic show together years ago in Nashville. And he was kind of picking at me a little about the Whippoorwill being reminiscent of Good Friday, a song of theirs.
Okay.
It has a similar chord structure. And then we did Come and Go Blues by the Allman Brothers, and I was giving him a little of the same about Thorn in My Pride sounding a bit like that.
Oh, okay.
So we laughed at how I said, Keith Richards a long time ago said, there's one great big song, and we just reach up and take our little piece of it.
Wow, that's a great way to look at it. Yeah. We talked about that being the overall fan favorite album, but when you look back at your own discography, how does that where does that land for you?
I mean, I can't argue that. I love it. And sometimes literally, because I don't listen to our music a lot after it's recorded, and I'll listen to it ad nauseum, mixing it and getting it ready.
Sure.
And then I'll play it for all my loved ones and friends, and then after that I don't go back much unless we need to
Learn something
to learn it. And songs from that will pop up sometimes when my music is shuffling.
Oh, okay.
And it makes me smile. I'm like, man, that sounds so fresh to me. It sounds like it did the day that we tracked it,
Yeah.
So I don't tire of it. There are songs that I hear of throughout our discography that I'll be like, oh, we played that too fast.
Oh, okay.
Brit Turner and I used to always, we would notice that to one another throughout our friendship and career. It'd be like, why did we play that so damn fast? What was the hurry?
So when you play that song live, then once you're like, oh shit, we did play that too fast, do you change the tempo then when you play it live again, or do you try to keep it as close to the record as possible?
It's not it. It really just kind of it grows its own legs, and so some songs just get faster and some get slower, and usually it's faster because that's just human nature. It's just adrenaline makes things go fast.
Sure, when you're up on stage and yeah.
Sometimes the groove just finds itself in the mud, and you're like, oh. And I've heard fans, not only of our band, but of the Grateful Dead or the Stones or even the Black Crowes, and say, why are they playing this so slow? And sometimes it's just the feel of it,
Sure.
It's like, oh, it gets
you just
you
kind of get locked into a good pocket.
It gets you in the gut, and then there it is. But I remember, I guess there are different ways to look at it, but when you're playing it live, that's when the recording is a snapshot of that day.
Yeah.
And 5 or 6 people playing it that way. And then 25 years later, it might be in a different key even,
Well, then everything, when you guys record, everything is all live, right? You guys in the studio all playing it together.
Always have. We obviously, overdubs happen. That's a part of recording. But what you're trying to capture is the basic tracks of the band playing it live.
That's a very old school way of doing things. I mean, nowadays it's, this guy's going to piece his parts together. And,
you can do it without leaving home now.
Yeah.
If you want to, but that's boring.
Yeah, well, of course. So let's talk about the next record, Holding All the Roses. That one, I believe, came out on Rounder Records. Mm-hmm. So was the Southern Ground deal with the Whippoorwill, was that just like a one album sort of deal? Or?
It was, and Zac was sort of closing up shop for the label.
Okay, I was going to ask you if the label still existed.
No, I think it was so much, and he was very busy being Zac Brown. He had his own career to deal with,
Yeah.
Like taking care of the careers of 6 other artists was probably more than he and his people. I think somebody made a point to me. They're like, man, the Beatles, they didn't even have the time to be a label,
Yeah.
Like, it's just too much.
Who else was on his label with you guys?
Us, the Wood Brothers, Sonia Lee, Levi Lowry, Nico Moon, the Wheeler Boys. Oh, a couple of others. I know I'm going to forget. That's the 6 that I can remember right offhand.
Okay.
anyway, it was great, but it was a lot, and so it all kind of ground slowly to a halt there, and we were like, well, we got to go, and obviously it was amicable, and Zac is still a great friend, and he's such a great human. He's so generous, and he's just one of the good ones.
And he's taken you guys out as support before. Right? You've opened for him a few times.
Bunch, especially then on the label, and then after that too. But so yeah, we got Brendan O'Brien.
That's right.
Produce what became Holding All the Roses, and Rounder. We had some friends there, and we did a 1-album deal with them basically. And after that, as far as labels go, I mean, the landscape was changing drastically. And we were like, well, we only need this. We don't need all this, and we don't need to pay people a percentage of all this. We know what we can accomplish. We know who our fans are. And with the music, with the way that it's consumed changing, we're like, we got to change with the times. So we'll do it ourselves.
And that's why you guys started Three-Legged Records, right? That's your own label.
With 30 Tigers with Dave Macias.
And that's like distro, right? The story behind the name Three-Legged Records is fun. It's based off of a tattoo you got when you were younger, right? Three-legged rooster.
I was in a band called Johnny Three Leg, and I got a tattoo. We were all going to get a tattoo, but I'm the only one who did. It's a three-legged rooster on my shoulder, and Brit always loved it because it's just black.
Okay.
So like Jailhouse, and he's like, I love that tattoo. It's so bad. And so he just kind of adopted that for Blackberry.
Yeah. Wow. Why were you the only one with the balls to go get a tattoo, or what?
I think that band, we were all pretty hard partiers, and everybody was like, we were going to do what?
And then nobody remembered. Yeah. Wow. Well, back to Holding All the Roses. I mean, I think, of course, the most notable thing about that album is that was your guys' first #1 album. Mm-hmm. And I believe the only, or at least the first independent artist ever to have a #1 country album on Billboard, if I'm correct on that, right?
That's surreal.
Do you think that the success from the Whippoorwill, certainly helped lead to that point? And was it something where you would expected that? Because you said earlier that you knew that the material you had for the Whippoorwill was great. When you went into Holding All the Roses, did you have that same feeling, or was it pretty much a shock when it did hit #1?
Well, it was a shock. I did feel good about those songs as well. And we were growing as musicians, I think, and as a band playing together. Brandon had been in the band for a whole album cycle and a tour, and he had a lot of contributions musically, and then even Brendan working with him. And I remember making the record going in pre-production, and he said he was very excited about like the song Holding All the Roses and Rock and Roll Again and Too High and Lay It All on Me. All of them really, but he was just like, he's like, I'm in your band. This is my music, my kind of music, And he was somebody that we really loved the records that he made with the Black Crowes and Dan Baird and Raging Slab and the Four Horsemen and all these bands. Not to mention Pearl Jam and Stone Temple Pilots.
Well, I mean some of the new metal stuff too. I think in the late night, like Limp Bizkit and stuff like that. So pretty wide.
And Ghetto Boys, a hip hop group from Texas.
Okay, wow. So he really has done it all.
And it was just such a great experience. We did it in 10 days, 8 to 10 days.
Wow.
But I remember specifically him saying, what do you think this record, how do you see, what kind of record do you see it as being? What does it sound like in your head? And I said, well, I thought we would just set up and play live. And he said, you just did that. That's your last record. Let's not make your last record again. And he said, what's something that you aspire to? You know, what's the kind of thing that you, and he goes, I'm not talking about your artsy, you know, you're not making a prog record. Right. And I said, well, I really love Physical Graffiti and Zeppelin, because it was, he goes, now that's a great point, because that was what you did on your last record and what they did, you know, set up and play live with a lot of color added. So you're going some different places, using some different instrumentation, using some strings, and we used this great fiddle player that he brought in, this girl, on the song Holding All the Roses and Woman in the Moon. And I just was knocked out. And we all were just like, this is going somewhere we never expected. It's just got so much going on. It's a great headphone record. And I still, again, that one I put it on, I'm like, wow, and that happened so quickly. It wasn't something we slaved over for months. It was like, and like Rock and Roll Again is it's not a heavy song. It's heavy on piano.
Sure.
Piano and boogie going on in it. The guitars are a little more almost laid back on it, you know.
Yeah.
I love that. I didn't hear it that way in the beginning, and he was like, I'm hearing this like this, you know. It's like Dave Edmunds or something like that.
Well, something that I don't think a lot of people really understand the power of is having the right producer on an album, because they really can. It's not about just, you know, getting the band in there to record their parts and then just kind of putting it all together and that's it. I mean, they really do add. They almost, I would imagine, I guess, I mean, I've never recorded a record, but when you're in the studio for that time period, I would imagine if they're good, they're supposed to become almost like another member of the band in a way.
Yeah. And that's what I'll explain to you coming up on the next couple of records, how it's like, it's such a valuable part of an album, I think. Because you get to a certain point where we can all make a record when we've been in a band for 20 years.
Sure.
We can take the information that we've gleaned from making these records and do it ourselves. But there's something so important about having another opinion from somebody that you trust implicitly.
When or that was the only Holding All the Roses was the only album you guys did with Brendan O'Brien, though, correct? So what? Because is it one of those things where you kind of want to go through different producers and just kind of work with everybody, or was it something that wasn't working, or just?
No, it worked. He actually was busy. He was an extremely busy producer.
Sure.
So it came time to make another, and we were like, well, and we're here in Atlanta, and he's in Los Angeles.
Did you guys go out to LA to make that record?
Part of it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Backed it in Atlanta, and then did guitars and overdubs and stuff in LA.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Anyway, so we were like, well, let's go to that studio where we tracked this with this great engineer, Billy Bowers, who worked on Holding All the Roses, and produce an album ourselves. It's kind of like...
Which became like an arrow.
Like an arrow. And it's kind of like going back to the Whippoorwill way of doing it, which was us with Matt and Clay. And that one it worked as well.
Well, sure. It was the second album in a row to go number one, yeah.
And I think that people, they liked those songs too. So I was really feeling good as a songwriter on a really good streak, writing a lot and not really sitting still. It was great. It was a great experience.
Well, and Like an Arrow, I believe that's the first Blackberry album to feature a contribution from Benji Shanks, right? Who, at the time, of course, not a member of the band, and over time eventually became a member of the band. How did that whole how did that whole relationship come together?
I met him through a mutual friend who had a band, Bob Dylan tribute band, called the Last Waltz Ensemble, and Benji was the lead guitar player, and I thought he was the greatest. And I would go and watch them play and sit in with them. And he and I became fast friends pretty quickly. And I would play solo acoustic shows around town, around Atlanta and surrounding areas. And I eventually said, will you come play with me? Just play guitar, And he's like, yeah. So that's what started that. And then Brit heard some of that and was like, man, we need to get Benji over here, and we need to be the 3 guitar band. He started sitting in with us at shows.
Oh, okay.
And 1 song turned into 5, and 5 turned into 10, and then making that record, I think it was What Comes Naturally that he played on. And he just knocked it out. He came in, and it was pretty soon after that they were like, you need to come on all the time with us.
And was he game when you brought the offer to him, or?
Yeah, and he was super busy at the time, and still is, with other projects and studio stuff.
Well, yeah, I was looking him up. I was looking up some of his credits, and I mean, he's on all sorts. He's got all sorts of different credits.
He's very in demand.
Yeah, it seems like it. I think, looking back at Like an Arrow, other than going from number 1, I think the most notable thing is, of course, featuring Gregg Allman, which you've told this story before, but it really is just such an incredible thing to be able to have him do guest vocals on a song. And the way I understand it is he was already sick at that time, right, and was already given not too much time left to live, but he still made it happen for you guys.
Yeah, none of us knew that then.
Right.
It was that was held pretty close to the vest.
Yeah, because it was his manager that told you after the fact,
Later.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even Devin told me much later, it's like, Dad was really sick, but he told you guys he would do it, so he wanted to make good on his. He was a man of his word.
How did that whole thing come together with him ending up appearing on the song?
Well, Brandon and I had written that song, Free on the Wing, and it felt very Macon, Georgia. I was like, it lives right there in that wheelhouse, and we had played some shows with Gregg. He was doing the Gregg Allman and Friends laid-back festivals. We did a couple of those shows, and we did a show with the Allman Brothers down in Florida. And I thought, it was just one of those pipe dreams. I thought, I wonder if Gregg would sing on this. It would just, I could hear it in my mind,
Yeah.
So I talked to our people, and they were like, well, you got to go ask him. Because they asked his people, and he was like, he's got to ask him. We want it, He was a tough cookie.
Yeah,
So,
wow.
And I had actually met Shank, his best friend, through one of my wife's college friends.
Oh, wow.
And Shank said,
Jeez.
come down here and ask him. I bet you he'll do it. He likes you. Which blew my mind.
Well, yeah, that's got to feel good. Yeah.
Anyway, so I went down to Macon. He was playing a Gregg Allman and Friends show at the Capitol Theater. And I went in, and it was great. I remember saying, would you play on this song? He's like, I'd like to hear it. And so he liked it, and he's like, I'll do it. And then he said, you want to play one with us tonight? And I was like, yes, I do.
Probably would have been pretty crushing, though, if he didn't like the song, right, and didn't want to
that-
sing on it.
I was nervous all the way there, because there's always that. He could be like, I'm busy.
Of course, yeah.
But he did it. I still, it's crazy to hear it when he starts to sing on that song. I'm like, wow.
But you guys were on tour over in Europe when he went in to record it, so you didn't get to be in the room with him when he did it.
I got on the phone and talked. He went in, he and Shank and his manager, I think, Michael Lehman, went down, and our engineer at the time for that record, Billy Bowers, was like, oh, he's crushing it, man. This is great. And then later, he told me, he's like, he did not feel good that day, man. You could tell he was really not doing well, but he was a soldier.
Wow. That's incredible.
Others just seem like they ain't never gonna settle down.
So I would imagine because of that alone, that and going number 1, I mean, that's got to be a pretty important record to you overall when you look back at Like an Arrow, which I guess next year is going to be the 10-year anniversary of it.
Yeah.
Time really flies.
All those records, then that, like from the Whippoorwill to now, or really from Holding All the Roses to now, has just, I'm like, what? How many years have gone by? How many records have we made?
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Jumping to Find a Light. I think, and kind of tying in the whole Mike Campbell thing, one of the most interesting things to me about that album is the song Best Seat in the House. Mm-hmm. And originally you had that song, but you weren't going to, you were hesitant to put it on the record because you thought it had a little bit too much of a Tom Petty vibe.
One of these days I'll get the best seat in the house.
I don't know. I mean, I think Brit, he was always we always just kind of put our noggins together about sort of the running order and the songs that we were choosing for the record. He's very, very honest for real quick to go, nope, I don't like that one as much, you know. But he loved that one. He's like, no, you're crazy. We got to put that on this record. That also started, Find a Light started my writing relationship with Keith Nelson, my old friend from Buckcherry.
Right.
And he had stepped away from Buckcherry, and he was really just kind of starting a new thing for himself. And he's like, I lost my songwriting partner. You want to write songs together? We'd never discussed that. And it wasn't discussed about who it would be for. It just, he needed, you know, to continue to make music. And we've been close friends since the 90s, you know. We're both guitar players and guitar collectors, and he sent me a couple of riffs, and I was like, Lord, yeah, okay. And the first two were Run Away From It All and Best Seat in the House. Those two guitar riffs. And so we wrote those long distance, I think the same day.
Oh, wow.
And that was just really energizing to me. As a writer, I was like, oh, this is great. This really, and in fact, I called him at one point and was like, I'm taking these to my band. Okay, sure.
Keith was awesome, and he was a big part of Buckcherry, you know, and I think I love Buckcherry, but there is a notable, there's something missing, I think, since he's been gone. But the whole Best Seat in the House thing, the story that I heard was that when you tracked that song and you were in the control room listening to it, is when all the news started breaking about Tom Petty. Yeah. I don't think he had died just yet. I think he was unconscious. Yeah. But then that was kind of like your sign to like, we need to put this on, keep this on the record, and that's going to be our tribute to Tom Petty in an indirect way.
Absolutely. I have a photo of our buddy Evan took a photo of, I think it's either Benji showing me his phone, basically like, look at this, Tom Petty is dying.
Oh, wow.
And we had come in to listen to a take of that song.
That is insane.
And it had the 12-string Rickenbacker and that whole feel, you know.
Yeah.
Which we hadn't really done before.
It's almost like it was meant to be in a way, the song.
Yeah, totally. And it sealed it for me. I was like, yeah,
that's crazy.
It could be our sort of like our nod to Tom.
Well, and what's interesting too is going back to Buffalo Nickel, the record that you guys did. I think Ben Montench did keys on that whole thing, and Mike Campbell, I think, also did a couple solos. But you didn't. I don't think you met Mike until just this past summer, right, when you guys did the tour.
And I told him that. It was like, Britt and Richard and I were in this band that you and Benmont played on. I met Benmont. I was there when he recorded his.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that was at A&M Henson where we made Holding All the Roses. So.
Oh, wow, okay.
And Mike, I remember he replaced 2 of my solos on that record. And I was like,
you can't even get mad at that, though, right?
Mad. He completely wiped the floor with me on it. But I remembered that to him and was like, "Do you remember that project?" And he was like, "No." I'm like, I didn't expect that you would.
What time period was it? Been like mid-90s, somewhere around there?
97.
Oh, okay.
And I said, remember, it was Danny Korchmer produced it, and he's like, I've played on so many projects for Danny. There's no way I'd remember.
Yeah. Yeah, that was still. I hope you guys do more together down the road, because that really is like such a great pairing. But the song "Till the Wheels Fall Off," that was I think Junkyard, the band Junkyard, covered that song, and of course, tragically, just a couple of months ago, we lost David Roach. But you guys had a relationship with Junkyard, right?
Yeah, I met Brian Baker, the guitar player, lead guitar player, around the Whippoorwill time. And I was a huge Junkyard fan. Still am.
Junkyard's awesome.
I mean, that was the greatest year. The records that came out, 88, 89, I mean, wow. It was really that fertile rock and roll time.
Yeah.
Real stuff that sticks to your ribs, you know. Stuff that came along and kind of pushed the lipstick out of the way.
Sure.
Obviously Guns N' Roses and Junkyard and Raging Slab and Izzy with his own stuff and oh gosh, Circus of Power.
I don't even know who that is.
The Throbs. Those are 2 New York bands. But,
Oh, okay.
so much great stuff. And I met Brian and our merch guy, Eric, was knocked out because he's like, is that Brian Baker? He was backstage. And I said, yeah. And I was like, yeah, Brian Baker from Junkyard. He's like, no, Brian Baker from Minor Threat.
Oh, okay.
An original member of Minor Threat, this DC hardcore.
Of course.
And then he was in Dag Nasty. And then Junkyard. He actually told me he was in Sam Hain for a week with Glenn Danzig.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, wow.
But he's been in Bad Religion now for 30 years or more.
I feel like hanging out with Danzig for a week, you'd still have a lifetime supply of stories.
He knows all those dudes. I mean, he comes from that world. You know?
Sure.
Anyway, Junkyard had reformed and were making a record. And he said, do you think would you maybe have a song to send or an idea? And I wrote that song and they did it. And then that was another Brit thing. He's like, can we record that song too? And I was like, I mean, I hadn't planned on it, but and he goes, I think we should. So we did.
Wow. Yeah, it's just it's crazy, losing him a couple months ago, and there's been so much loss this year with him and Ozzy, which of course sparked you guys adding in Children of the Grave every once in a while. Is that still on the set list, or it's just kind of in rotation?
We've played it and Fairies Wear Boots and
is it all just Sabbath stuff, or did you guys do any Ozzy?
Just Sabbath.
Okay.
Stuff. Planet Caravan. We've done that.
Oh, okay.
When we do that one, people get confused, and I'm like,
Like they don't know the song,
you guys
or what?
know this shit.
Yeah. You were doing some of those though before Ozzy died, right? Yeah. But Children of the Grave was the one that
we actually added it before he died, also.
Oh, okay.
And then we did it in tribute to him at the Ryman.
That's I saw that video. That was on the Mike Campbell tour, I believe, right? Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah.
Otis Gibbs said to me, he was watching from the side of the stage, and he goes, a friend told me a long time ago that you can actually sing a little bit of Call Me by Blondie to Children of the Grave.
I guess I never. Oh,
you
man.
just ruined that for me forever. So you're welcome, everyone.
God, you got to do that live sometime just to fuck with people. That's incredible. Well, jump into You Hear Georgia, which we spent a lot of time talking about Brendan O'Brien and all that. That was You Hear Georgia, of course, the first album with Dave Cobb, who is an absolute legend.
Yep. Dave, I had never met him when he was in Atlanta mainstay. He was in bands there, and he's from Savannah, Georgia. And then,
Okay.
Anyway, he had moved on to Los Angeles before I ever met him, but he made those like Shooter's first record and Jamie Johnson's second record and third, I guess, and couldn't believe it. Like, this dude is who we want to work with now. And we made 2 records without him, Like an Arrow and Find a Light, and he would call and be like, you want to make a record? And I'd say, we just made one, because he was so busy. He was
Sure.
And so after we made Find a Light, he was like, all right, we're going to make a record next. Don't go make one. Let's do it. So I said, okay. So when it came time, we did. And we actually went in and recorded Lonesome for a Living and Old Enough to Know first. That was in a day. Jamie came in, did Lonesome for a Living with us, and that was kind of us just getting to know each other, just that first day up at RCA. And he's like, let's make a whole record, let's win, That was a day that he had free. And then he's like, what about next month starting on this day? I said, sure. He goes, let me ask you this. Is it going to be an all-country record like this, or can we rock? I said, we can rock.
Was this because you guys had initially tried to do it, and then the pandemic happened, right?
Well, that's it. Exactly. I forgot that part. We had to push it back because of COVID, and then at some point in 2020, when everybody was still, stay 6 feet away from me and wear a mask and all that.
Sure.
He said, hey, we can set it up in RCA. We need to get this done. We can set it up where we don't really have to be too close to each other. And so we did. Like, they brought the console out into the big room.
Oh, wow.
And there's video of us all with our bandanas on our faces making a record.
But you still did it in the same way, right? Live, all in the studio?
Yeah. And it was, this is at the point where we were still bleaching our mail. Nobody knew. I don't think people were still like, what is going on? How bad is this? And he was really devastated because John Prine died, I think, while we were making the record.
Oh, wow.
And they were really good friends, very close, And he left a Christmas tree up in the corner of the studio, a white fake Christmas tree. And he's like, I'm never taking that down because John put that up.
It's probably still there to this day. Yeah. When that whole thing was happening, you always hear about these, I don't know, Ebola and all this, and then you're like, it'll be gone. But then once I think it was the NBA canceled the rest of the season, I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, this is some serious shit, But, you had all those songs written, and obviously you were going to go in before the pandemic, or right when it hit. But did the pandemic have any sort of effect on the final product of the album, or do you think if you recorded it right before it would have still turned out more or less the exact same?
The only thing that I can think of is that it did inform the lyrics of I'll Rise Again, which Warren and Haynes and I wrote.
Right.
And we wrote that right before we went in to start tracking. And we wrote that on a FaceTime call, and it's basically about the collapse of society and then how, we'll all be fine. This is just another horrific human experience.
When you co-wrote that song with him, and he also he plays on that song on the album, but co-writing so many different songs with so many different artists over the years, how do you decide, like, okay, I wrote this song with this person, and they're going to play it on the album with us? How do you decide when the right time is for that to happen?
I think it just works itself out, and COVID was responsible for so much of that. Like, a lot of artists and songwriters getting together that wouldn't normally have.
Sure.
Because we were sitting around doing nothing.
Yeah, everybody had all the free time in the world.
So Brent Cobb and I wrote a song, and Adam Hood and I wrote a song, and Warren and Levi Lowry, and it was really just like people reaching out. And Joe Bonamassa, Mark Morton.
That's still the Mark Morton collaboration still just blows my mind.
All that came from COVID.
But he's
being bored,
and he's a huge Southern rock guy, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's. Are you a Lamb of God fan?
Absolutely.
Are you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're a great band, and I would say for the most part pretty consistent across their discography. Most of their stuff is pretty solid.
It's incredible. The first time I met him was at Download Festival in the UK.
Okay.
It used to be Donington.
Yeah, it's like the biggest one of the biggest rock festivals ever.
Yeah, and I'm standing there and we're playing, and I look over and he's watching us, and we get done, and he walked over, and I was like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "I love you guys, man." I'm like, "Really? Okay, thank you."
That's awesome.
And we've been friends ever since.
Well, let's jump to the most recent studio album, Be Right Here, which obviously great songs on it that are still a part of the set list, but I think all of that is probably overshadowed by the fact that it is the final album with Brit Turner, who is such a key part of Blackberry Smoke, and am I right in saying that the fact of that being his final album kind of overshadows everything else around it?
Yeah. Well, and when we made the record, he had actually had a heart attack, which
while you guys were
right before we started.
Oh, okay.
So he survived this heart attack, and it was scary, and it was just this wake-up call for him and for...
And I guess just for the timeline, roughly when was that, when all this happened?
Would that have been early 2022?
Okay.
And he was like, okay, I'm good, He lived through that, and he came in and played. He's some of his best playing ever. He was so excited, and everybody. And at that point, there was no cancer diagnosis. That was yet to come. So everybody was happy and in a great place. I remember that being a lot more fun to make that record than You Hear Georgia was, because we weren't all scared of COVID.
Sure.
Or wondering what was going to happen to the world, you know.
Yeah.
And I love those songs so much, and the experience. Dave had us all play the little bitty amps. He's like, we're all going to be in this room with the drums, no separation. I just did that with Slash. It was great. It's like I'm recording a big rehearsal. And that's what we did. And it was like the guitars are bleeding into the drums. So he goes, so fucking play good. You're going to have to play it again if you screw up. And so it was great. And again, it was over. We've never been able to spend, I mean, why would you? We're a rock and roll band. We don't need to spend months or years making a.
So you don't need to make Chinese Democracy Part 2.
Get it while it's, and Dave is a big proponent of grab it while it's fresh, you know, and doesn't have to be perfect. Just spontaneous.
Yeah. When that album came out, I think 2 weeks or so before he passed away, if I recall right. I think it was like mid-February that album came out, and then he passed away in early March.
And we had kind of understood, you know, that, I mean, we could never stop this. It was his passion, you know. It's what he lived for. And so we continue. His honor every night.
Did he have any sort of relationship with Kent Oberle, who's playing with you guys now?
Yeah.
Before so they knew each other?
They did, and Kent was on the road with us for a year.
Oh, well, that's right, yeah.
Shadowing Brit and playing if he was too sick.
Oh, I didn't realize. So they would kind of rotate a little if Brit wasn't feeling great, so he would jump in. Wow.
Brit was like, he was damned and determined by hook by crook, I'm going to play. And there were just a few shows where he was just too sick, and Kent was there so we could, you know, maintain, you know, business.
Well, I guess that really leads us into the upcoming. Well, I guess probably by the time this is out, it'll be out. The greatest hits, Rattle, Ramble, and Roll, Volume 1. Which, you know, I would imagine, and I think you also even alluded to this in the announcement. I mean, is this really instead of being just billed as a greatest hits, is this really almost a tribute to Brit and kind of trying to, you know, cement his body of work?
Yes, it is. I wanted to do this before we go make a new record.
Sure.
This is just a way to sort of like, it's a thank you to him.
As the title would suggest, it's Volume 1, so that would I would assume there's a Volume 2.
That was Paul Jackson's idea. He was like, how are we going to make this just one, you know? So he's like, I think we should call it Volume 1 because we may need a Volume 2 at some point.
Is there any plans for Volume 2, like right now? Or
I don't know.
Is
Not
that
right now.
Not right now? What about the next record? Is there any sort of timeline when the new Blackberry Smoke record could come out?
We'll get started soon. I got some songs written and feeling good about it.
Do you ever add any new songs into the set before you record them, or not really?
No, we used to before the advent of YouTube.
Okay.
I remember there was a couple of songs that we did, and people started putting them up, and that was fine. And then you go record a song, and it might change, and people come back and be like, "Why is it not?" Like,
Right.
You know what? No, we're gonna wait.
Well, the last thing that I want to touch on before we wrap this up is, of course, you just put out a cover of Run With The Pack from Bad Company, which is on the Bad Company tribute album. I think it's called Can't Get Enough. And actually, I think tonight, the night that we're filming this, Bad Company is getting inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Of course, Paul Rodgers had to cancel his performance, I think, due to his health. But I think, so I listened to that tribute record the other day. I think Paul Rodgers is only on, I think, one other song on that, if I recall. But how did that happen, and how did he end up being on the song with you guys? It's kind of like the George Jones situation, really.
Yeah. Eddie Trunk called.
Oh, wow.
He's an old friend, just fantastic human. And he said, hey, can I put you in contact with Bad Company's management? They want to ask you guys to be a part of tribute record. I said, sure. So he passed along my info. One of their managers called and said, would you guys be a part of this? And I said, absolutely. So I started naming songs, and they had all been taken. And he's like, "What about Run with the Pack?" I said, "Oh, that's perfect." In fact, he was like, "Either Run with the Pack or Silver, Blue, and Gold." And I said, "God, I love both of those songs so much, but let's go with the fast one." So we went into Mastodon's studio in Atlanta.
Yep, I was going to.
Ron Daylor came and sang background vocals and played percussion on it. And then after it was done, it was already mastered. And they said, "Paul wants to know if he can sing on it."
Paul wants to know if
Oh,
he can sing on it.
Literally. I'm like, he doesn't need permission from us,
Sure.
So he did, and
But he did that remotely on his own, right? So was there any communication at all between you and him, or did you ever any dialogue with him?
not directly. I asked his manager, I said, "Does he want to add more than just like a few ad libs?" And because he just did some answers of what I was singing.
Sure.
And he said he didn't want to get in your way.
Wow, well, that's got to make you feel good, though,
I
right?
mean, I'm just like,
yeah.
I'm going to get that tattooed on me somewhere.
Well, and you mentioned Ron Daylor from Mastodon, and of course another tragic loss this year was Brent Hinds back in August. Of course, he was out of Mastodon for 5-6 months at that time. But did you? For those that don't know, Mastodon is also an Atlanta-based band. Did you? I assume you knew Brent to at least some extent.
Absolutely, I met him in the '90s.
Was he really as? You read these when he passed. You read all these tributes from people and everybody talking about what just an over the top, big personality and maybe a little difficult to be around at first until you kind of, you know what I mean? Was he really that much of a unique individual that people paint him to be?
He was a wild man.
Yeah.
He was always great to me. He was never anything but sweet to me.
Yeah.
In fact, I wish I could tell you that what the first thing he said to me was, but it would get me canceled.
Well,
Probably in 1995. I loved him, and you never knew what to expect.
yeah.
And we have so many great stories. Marcus King is a great friend of his, too. And he had just been out on tour with Marcus. And Marcus was like, "I love that dude. He's crazy, but I love that dude." And that's pretty much everybody's general consensus was, and he was a brilliant guitar player.
Yeah, I don't play guitar, but he does. I mean, you can very clearly tell when it's Brent Hinds, and I think from what I can understand, a lot of that comes from playing banjo, right? And the way he approaches guitar is based off
from a similar background in that regard, and so I think that's why we got along really well. And we talk about that kind of thing a little, but he was just unpredictable, But I loved him. He's great.
Yeah, what an absolute tragedy. But I guess as we wrap this up, anything coming up for Blackberry Smoke that you can talk about at the moment?
Nothing concrete. I mean, we'll continue to tour this year, and next year's our 25th anniversary, so we'll have some special things going on with that in mind. And I got a lot of stuff with friends coming along, different recorded projects, and it's been a busy time.
Well, Charlie Starr, thank you so much for taking a lot of time out of the day and joining me today. I much appreciated, and looking forward to the show tonight.
Thank you, guys.